Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Managing Stress Naturally workshop. My name's Mara Gerke, and I'm a certified natural health professional, gut health coach, and nutrition specialist, herbalist, and aromatherapist. And I wanted to talk to you today about managing stress and improving your resilience. Um, we're going to look at a holistic approach to this because stress is something that impacts us all, whether we're aware of it or not. Many of us are used to living under so much stress that we don't even realize how much of an impact it's having on our bodies and our function. So in today's class, I'm going to teach you all about stress, what it is, and the effects it has on your body. We'll explore what happens in your body as well as a gut-brain connection. We're going to dive into the importance of nutrition and how to optimize the foods you eat to help you better manage stress. We're also going to be exploring supportive herbs and practices. So by the end of this workshop, you should have a much deeper understanding of stress, and you'll also have a practical tips to start implementing right away to build more stress resilience and support your overall physical and mental well-being. So I just want to let you know that the information I'm presenting today in this workshop is for educational purposes. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure a disease. If you do have a health concern, please consult with a licensed healthcare professional and seek care from your doctor. So what is stress? Stress is actually your body's reaction to a real or a perceived threat. And throughout history, it served as a crucial survival mechanism to protect us from predators and natural disasters. And throughout the day, your body is continuously responding to different stressors. And everybody responds differently based on their perception of a situation and their levels of stress resilience. So a small amount of stress is healthy, but stress can quickly become negative when it's highly intense and it lasts a long time and exceeds our ability to cope with it. And if we stay here and we don't manage it, it can have detrimental effects on our mental, emotional, and physical health. Therefore, it's super important that we develop effective stress management strategies. So acute stress is short term. It's actually good for us. Imagine if you're giving a presentation and your adrenaline's pumping and you become highly focused and alert. And in this situation, acute stress helps you perform confidently. Another form of acute stress is doing a workout. So once the stress is over, your body relaxes and the hormones released by stress return to normal levels. Acute stress actually helps us build resilience, endurance, and strength. Chronic stress, on the other hand, is that prolonged and ongoing stress that persists over an extended period. For example, throughout history, we'd experience acute stress if we faced with a threat from a predator. Our body would use its resources to help keep us safe. And when we were finally safe, we would begin to repair and rebuild. But in this day and age, we're faced with ongoing threats. Once the hypothetical predator stops chasing you, another one appears and you don't get that rest and repair period. And this is a bad kind of stress that actually impacts our health long term. Our bodies were not designed to deal with this chronic simmering stress. So when we think of stress, most people think of being busy or being under pressure. However, there's many different forms of stress. We have physical stressors, psychological stressors, and environmental stressors. For psychological stress, we have things like trauma, grief, lack of boundaries, and perfectionism. For physical stress, we have things like nutritional deficiencies, inflammation, too little or too much exercise, alcohol, smoking. For environmental stress, we have things like air pollution, work demands, technology overload. And the body reacts to each type of stressor in the same way, very much the same way. For example, if you trip and break your leg, you're going to experience the same stress hormone cascade as if you just got fired from your job. So This is when we're ready for task 1 in the workbook. So if you didn't download it, you can download it now. So your first task is to complete the stress questionnaire. Find out what level of stress you might be currently experiencing. And then on page 7, you're going to write down your own list of things that cause you stress using some examples from the workbook. So the stress response. Your perception of a stressor plays a significant role in activating your stress response more so than the stressor itself. For example, 2 people can be faced with the same situation and their nervous systems will have very different responses. There are 2 branches of your nervous system, autonomic nervous system, and that has the sympathetic and parasympathetic. And when a stressor is perceived, your body switches on the sympathetic nervous system, which we all know as the fight or flight. And that prepares our body to cope with a threat. Adrenaline and noradrenaline are released from our adrenals. Our heart rate and breathing rate and blood pressure increase. Our pupils dilate to scan our surroundings, and blood is directed directly to our brain and muscles to help us run or fight. Once the stressor is gone, we ideally return to the parasympathetic state of rest and repair. If the stressor doesn't go away, the HPA axis is activated. And the HPA axis is the communication between our hypothalamus, pituitary glands, which are in our brain, and our adrenals. And our hypothalamus makes a hormone called CRH, which tells our pituitary to make ACTH, which tells our adrenals to make cortisol. So that's why cortisol happens. So cortisol is actually necessary to help our body adapt and learn to live with this increased state of stress. It also helps to provide glucose to our brain and muscles, improve focus and memory in the short term, reduces inflammation, and suppresses non-essential symptoms like digestion and reproduction to preserve resources. Elevated cortisol is beneficial initially, but detrimental over time. In the 1930s, Hans Selye introduced the concept of general adaptation syndrome to describe the body's response to acute and chronic stress. And there's 3 stages. The alarm stage is that initial fight or flight mode. The resistance stage is when your HPA axis is activated and cortisol is released. And if that resistance stage keeps going, then we can eventually enter the exhaustion stage. So different stages come with different symptoms, and the alarm stage is all of those fight or flight symptoms we discussed earlier. The resistance stage is the body trying to cope with the ongoing stress, and you're often going to see fluctuating energy and productivity, difficulty sleeping, especially feeling alert but tired at night, sugar cravings, muscle pain, poor focus, digestive issues, emotional dysregulation, irritability, and anxiety. So when stress continues without adequate opportunities for recovery, some people begin experiencing physical and emotional exhaustion, commonly described as burnout. And Hans' general adaptation syndrome provides a historical framework for understanding how prolonged stress may affect the body. However, many of us don't always progress through these 3 predictable clinical stages, and symptoms alone cannot determine cortisol levels or diagnose HPA axis dysfunction. We can get persistent fatigue and exhaustion, feel emotionally drained, overwhelmed, unable to cope, having trouble concentrating or making decisions, weakened immune function, low blood sugar or pressure, loss of interest and enthusiasm, decreased performance, productivity, and motivation, trouble getting to sleep or staying asleep, and adding intolerance to exercise. Now, all of these symptoms are not specific to this, but they are common with this. Your cortisol actually follows a natural daily rhythm. As you can see on this chart, it should be highest in the morning. It generally peaks about 30 to 45 minutes upon waking and gradually decreases throughout the day, hitting its lowest point around bedtime. In HPA dysfunction, this rhythm can become disrupted, particularly in the later stages of chronic stress. You may see a blunted cortisol response that leaves you feeling unrefreshed, tired, and sluggish in the morning, or you can see really high levels in the morning or elevated levels at night. Part of building this stress resilience is balancing your cortisol levels so they return to their natural state. And cortisol can be measured in blood, saliva, or urine, but the appropriate method and timing depend on what your healthcare professional is evaluating. Fatigue, poor sleep, or feeling wired but tired cannot establish a cortisol disorder by itself. So long-term stress, HPA dysfunction, and cortisol imbalances can lead to hormonal issues, irregular cycles, fertility problems, hypothyroidism, neurotransmitter imbalances like anxiety, depression, mood disturbances, impaired cognition, brain fog, difficulty with concentration and focus, and poor memory. It can impair your immune function, making you more susceptible to infection and illness. Your cardiovascular health can be compromised with increased risk of hypertension, heart disease, heart attacks, or stroke. You may notice some metabolic changes, difficulties with weight management or insulin resistant. You could also have chronic low-grade inflammation, creating tissue damage and an increased risk of chronic disease, and a lot of digestive disorders, indigestion, food intolerance, nutrient deficiencies, leaky gut, which is intestinal permeability and often more susceptible to things. So how do we begin to bring our cortisol levels back into their natural balance? And one of the best things we can do is get sunlight exposure first thing in the morning. When you wake up, go outside for 20 minutes and expose yourself to as much light as possible. This helps reset your circadian rhythm and helps you to be more alert and motivated in the mornings. It's also important to limit light exposure at night to reduce your cortisol levels and increase melatonin so you're ready to go to sleep. So use warm, dim lamps rather than harsh white lighting, and use blue light blocking apps. Exercise is another way to help balance your cortisol levels. High intensity exercise increases cortisol, but helps to reduce it later in the day. So more gentle exercise like walking and yoga help to lower cortisol levels. Coffee can raise cortisol, especially if you drink it on an empty stomach. So wait a few hours after waking to have your coffee and make sure you eat a good breakfast beforehand. We're ready for task 3. So on page 10 of your workbook, rate your current energy, mood, sleep, and other symptoms on a scale of 1 to 10. And over the next 7 days, make a conscious effort to get 20 minutes of sunlight exposure first thing in the morning. And only use dim, warm lighting at night. And limit screens. Track your daily progress on the chart. And then after 7 days, rate your symptoms again. So this is just to let you become aware of your energy, mood, sleep, and other symptoms you may have going on. The gut-brain axis is the two-way communication pathway between your gut and your brain. It involves your vagus nerve, which is the main nerve of your parasympathetic nervous system that sends information from your brain to your gut and back. It also involves hormones, neurotransmitter, and inflammatory chemicals. Chronic stress affects your gut health by altering your gut motility. It can slow the movement of food and cause constipation, or it can speed it up, causing loose bowels. It can also affect the permeability of your gut lining, aka leaky gut. It can also disturb the microbiome balance, leading to digestive issues like bloating, IBS, and inflammation. Dysbiosis and leaking gut can promote neuroinflammation, disrupting neurotransmitter balance. So the best way to support your gut-brain axis is to regularly stimulate your vagus nerve through practices like slow, deep breathing, gargling, singing, humming, massage, exercise, and practicing these every day helps to tone your vagus nerve and regulate your nervous system. Another way to support your gut-brain axis is to practice mindful eating. Most of us are in the habit of eating while multitasking, and that can really affect your digestion. So sit down at the table, eat, and minimize distractions. Turn off the TV, put away your phone, chew slowly, and pause between bites, and eat until you're satiated, but not until you feel full. Another way to support your gut-brain axis is to consume a varied fiber-rich diet. That can help support the gut-brain connection. For a plant variety, fermented foods, and the microbiome, explore the Gut 101 workshop. So we want to eat a variety of foods, but for more in-depth information on the types of foods that really promote gut health, watch the Gut Health 101 workshop. And try gradually increasing the variety of plants you tolerate. Diversity is a marker of good gut health, so the more diverse your diet, the healthier your gut. And lastly, we can't forget about fermented foods. While plant foods help feed and promote the growth of the good gut bugs, fermented foods contain live microorganisms or fermentation compounds that may support microbial diversity and digestive wellness. And those are going to be your yogurts, kefir, kombucha, miso, tempeh, sauerkraut. For some people, when we're introducing fiber and fermented foods, we want to go slowly because that can worsen other digestive symptoms. So you want to make sure you introduce them slowly. You drink a lot of water, especially with fiber, and feel free to work with someone like myself or someone else to help you identify a diet or address potential food intolerances. So your next task is on page 12 of your workbook, which should be task 4, and you want to begin writing a list of all the different plant foods you've eaten today. And for the next 7 days, each new serving of a plant food, aiming to achieve 20, 30, 40 different varieties of plant foods over a week. And once you have an understanding of just how varied your diet is, you can begin to include a wider variety of plant foods. So this task is really to get you to think about the plants you're eating and how you can improve the variety of them. Stress can also affect hormonal wellness because stress influences the communication between the brain, the adrenal glands, and the reproductive system. Prolonged stress may affect menstrual patterns, libido, sleep, mood, appetite, and energy. And hormonal symptoms have many possible causes and cannot be attributed to cortisol without appropriate evaluation. Persistent or concerning symptoms should be discussed with your healthcare provider. So the symptoms worth discussing, we tend to see mood and cognitive issues like anxiety and brain fog. There's also things like PMS, period pain, heavy periods, low libido, and decreased overall well-being. And if you think you might be experiencing hormonal issues as a result of stress, recommend seeing someone who can help you keep those hormones balanced. Nutrients such as magnesium, B vitamins, vitamin C, zinc, omega-3, they're all involved in energy production, nervous system function, and overall wellness. And during stressful periods, changes in appetite, eating habits, sleep, or alcohol intake may make it more difficult to maintain a nutrient-dense diet. And this can lead to certain nutrient deficiencies, particularly magnesium and B vitamins, as well as vitamin C. which are all needed for your adrenals, and zinc is needed for neurotransmitter production. So the irony is that while magnesium and B vitamins are depleted by stress, they're also essential for a healthy stress response. So it can become this never-ending cycle of increased stress and nutrient depletion. And to stop this cycle, it's crucial that you increase your intake of these important nutrients through supplements or your diet. So here are some foods that you may want to eat more of during times of stress. Magnesium's found in leafy greens, spinach, nuts, seeds, almonds, pumpkin seeds, brown rice, quinoa, black beans, chickpeas, dark chocolate. Your B vitamins are found a lot in whole grains, eggs, chicken, beef, again, leafy greens, fortified cereals, and nutritional yeast. Vitamin C is found in your citrus fruits, capsicum, broccoli, strawberries, and kiwi. Zinc you're going to find a lot in your shellfish, in your meat, your legumes, pumpkin seeds, and cashews. And omega-3s are found in fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel, flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts, and algae oil. So the best diet for stress is a nutrient-dense, whole foods-based diet, including fruit and vegetable, whole grains, nuts, seeds, legumes, extra virgin olive oil, fatty fish, organic poultry, and meats in moderation. You want to eat regular balanced meals according to your individual needs, including protein, fiber-rich carbs, and healthy fats, because they may all help support satisfaction and more steady, balanced energy. Some people benefit from plant snacks while others do not need them. So it's important to prioritize a healthy breakfast with a good source of protein and healthy fats to start your day. Skipping meals can actually disrupt your blood sugar levels and trigger stress hormones. So it's really important to be eating, regularly, whether that's 2 or 3 meals a day with you, and make sure that if you're snacking, you have high protein snacks in between to sustain your blood sugar levels. A 2024 study on more than 300 older Australians found a lower intensity of anxiety and stress symptoms in people who followed the Mediterranean type diet. And when they looked at individual food groups, the strongest impacts on easing anxiety and stress were related to a high intake of legumes and nuts and a low intake of sugar-sweetened foods and beverages. So this diagram gives you a good idea of how to make a balanced meal. Start by filling just under half of your plate with colorful veggies and leafy greens. Next, add a source of high quality protein about the size and thickness of your palm. Then fill a quarter of your plate with complex carbs, things like sweet potato, brown rice, wild rice, oats, lentils, or beans. And then 2 to 3 tablespoons of healthy fats like avocado and olive oil. And this actually closely resembles the My Plate of today, finally. So on page 16 of your workbook, task 5 is a more detailed version of how to make a balanced plate. And, keep this in mind as you use it as your guide to create a 7-day meal plan for you and your family. So it's important to remember that a regulated nervous system isn't about removing every possible source of stress and staying in a parasympathetic state 24/7. As we discussed, those moderate amounts of stress are actually good for us and they help us grow. It's about cultivating stress resilience so that your body can more efficiently shift from sympathetic to parasympathetic activation so we can get that resolution of the stress response and our body has time to rest and repair in between. So for this reason, we need to do daily practices that maybe are going to signal to our nervous system that we're calm and we're safe. And exercise is one of the best things you can do for nervous system regulation because it helps to clear all the built up stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol from your body. And it also increases a chemical called BDNF, which acts like a stress shield, regulating stress hormones and making our brain cells more resistant to stress. It also helps boost endorphins to make us feel good and reduce our perception of stress. So ideally, you want to be moving your body for at least 20 to 30 minutes every day. Moderate intensity exercise is anything that gets your heart rate and breathing up, but still allows you to carry on a conversation. So think of fast-paced walking, swimming, cycling, or even heavy gardening work. You'll also want to include at least 2 days a week of strength training like push-up, squats, or weights, and make sure that the exercise that you do is within your tolerance and safe for your current state of health. Another way to regulate your nervous system is through mind-body movement. Anything that incorporates breathing exercise alongside gentle movement is amazing for your nervous system. So things like yoga, qigong, tai chi, and Pilates actually activate the parasympathetic nervous system and strengthen the vagus nerve. And you can easily access many of these classes for free on YouTube. Controlled breathing is another way you can stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system and activate your vagus nerve. Box breathing is very beneficial for this, and that's where you inhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4, and hold for a count of 4, and begin again. Physiological sigh is where you inhale once through your nose, then without exhaling first, inhale again with force until your lungs are full, and then exhale for 6 to 8 seconds. And both of these forms of breath work are really good to stimulate the parasympathetic nerve. You also can't forget about meditation, because regular meditation can increase your capacity for self-awareness, emotional regulation, and stress resilience. So if you struggle with meditation, then non-sleep deep rest is a great place to begin. You can find videos on YouTube. It's a very structured, short meditation that promotes deep state of relaxation. Yoga Nidra is another form of guided meditation as well. Cold water exposure for some can improve stress resilience by triggering endorphins and stress hormones in a controlled way that increases tolerance to discomfort. So maybe if you're showering and it's okay for you, try a 30-second cold shower at the end of your regular shower. I've heard a lot of people do this. I do this sometimes myself. Social connection is a major key factor for maintaining stress resilience throughout life. In fact, positive social connections help counteract the negative effects of stress. So aim for daily social connection, whether it's a call to a friend, a coffee date, an exercise class, visiting a relative, or saying hi to a stranger in the street or the store. Engage a little bit socially. Spending time in nature is also important, as it's associated with greater stress resilience and improved overall well-being. People who actually move to greener areas have been shown to have persistent improvements in their mental health. So aim to get out in nature once a day, whether it's a walk in the park on your lunch break, visiting the beach, or simply standing barefoot on some grass in your yard. Or also fill your home with some plants. The greens are very relaxing and soothing. This is, my best and way of dealing with stress. I always take a walk outside. So if you're finding yourself irritable, anxious, or overwhelmed, then these practices are great to do to help ground you or clear you. Tune into your body and choose an exercise that feels right in the moment. Vibrational shaking is where you shake your body vigorously for 1 to 2 minutes. You can use a chi machine. We also have a grounding exercise, which brings you into the present moment. Notice 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can taste. And another helpful practice is a butterfly hug. Cross your arms over your chest, placing your hands on your upper arms, and gently tap one hand at a time while taking slow breaths. You can also rock from side to side while you do this. So all these things can really help for quick relief for stress. So Task 6 is asking you over the next 7 days to experiment with a variety of nervous system techniques to help you regulate it and calm down. Try a different method each day and reflect on how it makes you feel. And by the end of the week, choose a technique that really resonates with you and can commit to incorporating it into your daily routine. And you'll find the list of practices on page 18 in your workbook. So we previously discussed how magnesium can become depleted during stress, but it's also essential for a healthy stress response. And for this reason, it's one of the top stress nutrients. It supports stress by modulating the HPA axis and regulating GABA levels. It's also been shown and has been studied for supporting perceived stress and emotional wellness, especially in combination with B6. Glycine is supportive amino acid that has a calming effect on the nervous system and reduces the effects of overstimulation. And glycine has been studied for its potential effects on relaxation and sleep. And glycine is a supportive amino acid. B vitamins are also depleted during stress, and they have been shown to significantly reduce symptoms of stress, the level of perceived stress and anxiety, and improve your mood and increase resilience. And when it comes to B vitamins, we usually are taken in a complex with all the different Bs, and also the form and dose are really important. L-theanine is another beneficial amino acid, which is derived from green tea. It includes alpha wave activity, promoting a calm but relaxed state. It also increases dopamine and serotonin levels and helps to improve sleep. Omega-3 is another essential nutrient as it supports brain health and neurotransmitter production. It helps to reduce neuroinflammation and supports anxiety and stress resilience. And lastly, probiotics help to support the gut-brain axis and improve overall gut health. Specific strains can be that support mental wellness are called psychobiotics, and they include specific lactobacillus and bifidobacterium strains. Herbal medicines have been used throughout history to manage stress and anxiety. Adaptogens are a class of herbs that increase resistance to physical, emotional, environmental, or biological stressors. They protect the body against the effects of stress and restore normal physiological function. Nervine herbs, on the other hand, strengthen, nourish, and calm the nervous system. So some of your adaptogenic herbs include ashwagandha, rhodiola, holy basil, schizandra, Siberian ginseng. Nervine herbs include lemon balm, skullcap, passion flower, kava, valerian, lavender, oat straw, and chamomile. Note that kava has additional medication, sedation, and liver safety concerns and should be used with appropriate guidance. A holistic wellness professional can provide education about lifestyle, habits, herbs, and nutritional supplements while helping you consider your individual needs, medications, and health history. Aromatherapy can also be incorporated into a very calming routine through personal inhalers or properly using diffusers. Individual responses vary to essential oils, and they should be used with awareness of dilution, pets, children, respiratory sensitivity, and medication concerns. Some of my favorite oils are lavender. It's very calming. Bergamot has uplifting qualities. Same as sweet orange. I always call that sunshine in a bottle. Roman chamomile is very relaxing and anti-inflammatory. And frankincense is very woodsy and calming and meditative. So I want to thank each and every one of you so much for taking the time to be here and for investing in your health. I hope you've gained some valuable insights and practical tools that can help you build greater stress resilience and support your nervous system. Continue working through the companion workbook and exercises, and choose one or two strategies that feel really realistic for you. And if you're ready for more support, you'll find links to the Healthy Habits Challenge and the 8-week nervous system reset directly below this. So I just want to thank you again for joining me, and here's to better health.